Yeah.
Tony, what's your view about forced arranged marriages? Because the impact of that on children and as a family as a whole is quite disturbing. Arranged marriages.
Arranged marriages, yeah.
The women doesn't often get consent of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't support forced marriages, although I've met people who were in forced marriages or arranged marriages who say it's wonderful and it works out a lot better because the judgment of the parents in getting together and deciding who should marry who is a lot better than than mere sexual attraction. But I mean, I really do think that marriage has to be a choice, a free choice. A human has to be fully free and fully human. And if it's an arranged or forced marriage, then it's not fully free. This person is not choosing that person of their own free will. So it isn't that total gift of self, it's a taking rather than a giving of self. Yeah.
If a person doesn't believe in God and thinks that he or she can give themselves wholeheartedly without signing that piece of paper, how do we explain to them the difference of...
Well, they can. I mean, there's no doubt that you can make a gift of love without seeing that gift of love as being a witness to God's love. What makes marriage important from a secular point of view is the fruitfulness of that gift and the security of that gift. Fruitfulness in terms of having children and security in terms of securing the identity and the nurturing of those children within that relationship. So marriage is important, even outside of a religious context. Yeah.
But even though they don't get married, de facto relationships are protected by the law, so their children are actually safe because of that de facto relationship.
It's not the same protection. Well, it's not. It hasn't been. I mean, the Relationships Bill did change a few things, but the property obligations and the right of say a woman who's been in a de facto relationship to receive maintenance is not the same. She can receive support for her children, but she can't receive support for herself. Whereas if she were married, she could receive that support for herself. So the law still does make a difference between de facto relationships and marriage relationships in their breakup. The de facto relationship, from a state point of view, is a recognition of something that has occurred de facto, something that has occurred. It exists, and the law has judged that it's better to treat that as though it were a marriage, and to give it for precisely that reason. Now, the state can try and give it the security of ensuring that the child is supported, but what's lacking in a de facto relationship is the commitment to each other, the permanent gift to each other, and that's the real security. It's nothing about what the law or the state does. The real security is that these two people say, we will stay together no matter what, for the sake of each other and for the sake of the children. That's the total gift of self. That's not about law, but it can be a very strong secular concept, that total gift of self.
But if they trust each other's promise without signing a piece of paper, like if I'm in love with a guy and he tells me he's going to take care of me for the rest of my life and I believe him, so...
The marriage is not the piece of paper. The piece of paper is not important. What is important is the total gift of self. That is, that I give myself to this person completely and vice versa. Now that can happen in the way that you're talking about, and a de facto relationship can be a natural marriage, when two people have made that permanent commitment to each other. The question that we were discussing before was, if that is the case, if it's that total gift of self to one to the other, why not celebrate it, make it public, make it recognised, and bring everybody else in to celebrate it and help support it? It doesn't make sense, if it really is that total gift of self, not to involve that idea of it being a public event as well. Yeah.
You just mentioned it just before. Can you define marriage? Can you explain the difference between a natural marriage and a sacramental marriage?
In terms of a natural marriage is a mutual and permanent gift of self to another, to the exclusion of all others. So that's the basis of it, and usually you would add, instituted for the purpose of the nurturing and protection of children. That's the idea of a natural marriage. What makes a marriage a sacramental marriage is the desire on the part of that couple to see that relationship as a witness to God's love. A sacrament is a witness to God's love. So it's a sign of God's love. And so that what makes it a sacrament then is seeking to make it a sign of God's love, and that's why you seek to have it in a church, and you seek to have a priest be the celebrant, to have all those signs and symbols of this being recognised by God and done for the sake of God. I said a sacramental marriage is done not just for the couple, for each other, but for God's sake as well. It's love of God as well as love of each other. That's what makes it sacramental. Had enough? Yeah.
Nick, I had a conversation with someone once, and they said that they didn't believe in marriage, and you know, if they did eventually find someone that they loved and they wanted to spend their life with, they'd spend it with them. And I said, but what happens if one day, you know, 20 years afterwards, you don't really feel like you love them anymore? What would you do? And she said, I'd leave.
But the point there is the beginning. If you love somebody, in the sense that we're talking about of imitating God's love, then you make a permanent and total gift of yourself to the other.
Yeah.
Just living with somebody doesn't do that.
Why permanent though? Like, why isn't she right to say, well, if I don't love them anymore, I'm free to go, right?
Yeah, because that means that the relationship is an insecure relationship. The relationship is a conditional one. It says, I love you for as long as it lasts, or for as long as it works. That isn't the complete gift of love. It's holding something back. It's holding something in reserve. It's not giving yourself unreservedly, surrendering yourself to the other, and to the in that complete sense of gift.
Couldn't that lead to unhappiness, staying in a marriage where you're not in love anymore?
Well, I suspect that a relationship which has the insecurity of not knowing whether that person is going to stay there, whether they could decide tomorrow that somebody else is more attractive, or and so on, that they could decide tomorrow that this isn't working for them. I suspect that situation of a de facto relationship is a far more unhappy relationship in itself than the relationship in which you can be confident that this person will not leave. This person's here for the journey for me. Yeah.
Is there something there, love being an act of will as opposed to an emotion?
Oh, look, it's both. I mean, it's a choice, it's a decision that you make, and it has to be a decision that's made freely, not one that's kind of driven by a sexual desire or something like that. But it has to be. It is also a relationship where you're giving yourself for the love of this other person, and that's a complete love at all levels. So it involves also giving yourself physically to the other. So it wouldn't be a marriage, it wouldn't be a love without giving yourself physically to the other. But yeah, so the richness of it comes in seeing the person as a unity and seeing their gift as a total gift. Yeah.
The question I got from a lot of friends who aren't of any faith background is, oh, well, how can you have Catholic priests who aren't married keep preaching about how good marriage is? Is there not a bit of a contradiction? And that's a pretty tough one to answer.
Well, it depends on how you understand priesthood. Priesthood, the celibate life, is seeing something that's extraordinarily good, and deciding to forsake it, to do so as a witness to that life to come. So that the role of the priest is to give witness to the next life, and to give witness to the love that is to come, the same love that a married couple express when they give to each other. So that a priest knows very well what love is, because that's what's motivating that desire for the celibate life. That love for God, that love for all of us in giving witness to the next life.
It's not answering the question in the sense that how can they talk about married life, which they tend to do.
Well, they don't actually.
Well,
Priests seldom actually talk about married life itself.
This was at a wedding
Yeah.
that I went to,
Yeah.
and the priest was going on about how good married life was.
What you can say, I suppose, about priests is that those of us who are married have the experience of one marriage. That doesn't make us an expert on marriages. It makes us an expert in one marriage. And so we're no more expert in that sense than the priest is. The advantage, I guess, that a priest has is the work that a priest does in working with so many marriages and so many people, that you know, they're working through people through all the crises of their lives. And that does give them an insight and a strength to deal with and to talk about marriage with some expertise. It's a bit like saying, if talking to your person there, saying that a doctor who treats diabetes couldn't treat diabetes if he wasn't already a diabetic. You know, it's not experiencing it. It's not the only source of knowledge about it.